Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Intervlog, the channel that brings you stories from around the world with truth, depth, and understanding. Today, we turn our focus to Madagascar, an island nation in the Indian Ocean known for its beauty, biodiversity, and history. But now, for something much darker and more uncertain. President Andry Rajoelina, a man once seen as the youthful face of change, is now in hiding. He says he has survived an attempt of eliminating him, and his government is surrounded by fear, confusion, and divisions that stretch deep into the army itself. As of now, the president, his family, and several of his allies have vanished from public view. Their locations remain unknown. Rumors swirl of evacuation, of exile, of internal betrayal, but the truth remains elusive. This is not just a political story. It is a human story, a story of fear, loyalty, and power. And so, Intervlog invites you to walk with us, calmly, factually, and thoughtfully, through the unfolding crisis in Madagascar. The night of the attempt. According to multiple reports, the tension began late last week when President Andry Rajoelina abruptly canceled a long-awaited national address. Moments later, he appeared on Facebook Live, his face tight with strain and his voice trembling slightly as he said, "I was forced to find a safe place to protect my life." It was not just an admission of vulnerability, it was a confession of fear. For a sitting head of state to announce that he is in hiding is rare, almost unthinkable. Yet this is what Rajoelina did. He told the people of Madagascar that there had been an attempt on his life and that some within the military, the very institution that had once helped him rise to power, were now turning against him. In that same broadcast, he tried to reassure the nation, saying, "Only the Constitution can resolve this crisis." But outside the walls of his hiding place, the situation was already slipping out of control. Across Madagascar's capital, Antananarivo, crowds filled the streets. The protests that began on September 25th had grown into a national movement, first about electricity and water shortages, and later about corruption and leadership failure. For the young generation, Madagascar's Gen Z, this was not just about daily hardship. It was about their future. Their slogan, often shared on TikTok and Facebook, reads, "Tsi rarini ni fahanginana." That means, silence is injustice. They took their frustrations online, then to the streets. And in those streets, anger mixed with hope, and hope collided with fear. Sources close to the government told regional media that several key figures close to Rajoelina have fled the country. Among them, reportedly, former Prime Minister Christian Ntsai and other senior advisors who once stood beside the president during his rise to power. Some were said to have left for Mauritius, others to France, and a few to unknown locations. As one government insider told RFI, "Everyone is trying to disappear. Nobody knows who is loyal anymore. Even the Army Personnel Administration Center, CAPSAT, the same unit that had supported Rajoelina's 2009 coup, has now turned against him, declaring support for the protesters and installing a new military chief." This is not merely defection. It is a symbol. A reminder that the circle of trust around the president has narrowed to almost nothing. At this point, Intervlog pauses to share a Malagasy proverb, "Ni hazo avotsi imba halavirana aminni tsalatra." The tall tree cannot escape the lightning. In English, this means, when one rises high, the storms of life find you more easily. For President Rajoelina, who climbed rapidly from being a young mayor to head of state through a coup in 2009, this proverb feels hauntingly relevant. He reached great heights, but the storms have come. And this time, the lightning has struck close. The crisis has also taken on an international dimension. Reports emerged that Rajoelina may have been evacuated to France on a military aircraft, following alleged communications with French President Emmanuel Macron. Macron, speaking during a visit to Egypt, declined to confirm these reports. He said only, "We express our great concern about the situation in Madagascar." France, which once ruled Madagascar as a colony until 1960, has long maintained ties with the island. And so, speculation about French involvement, whether diplomatic, humanitarian, or strategic, has grown rapidly. But official Paris remains silent. Meanwhile, Rajoelina's whereabouts remain secret. Some sources claim he is in southern France, under protection. Others believe he is still within Madagascar, moving from one secure site to another with his wife and children, surrounded by loyal guards. The president himself has not appeared in public since the Wednesday before his Facebook address. His national speech was twice delayed as armed forces attempted to seize state television and radio. The symbolism could not be clearer. Even the instruments of communication, the president's voice to his people, were under threat. As one observer put it, when the president cannot speak to his own nation, democracy is already in the dark. Despite the chaos, the young protesters say they will continue. Elliot, a member of Gen Z Madagascar, told journalists he is not open to dialogue. "We will keep mobilizing." Another protester added, "We are not just fighting for electricity or water. We are fighting for dignity." The demonstrations have continued in Antananarivo, Toamasina, and Mahajanga, with slogans demanding transparency, justice, and leadership renewal. The mood, however, is mixed. Some fear civil war. Others believe this is the beginning of renewal. In Malagasy culture, the chameleon is a powerful symbol. There is a saying, "Nai sokina miadana, fa tonga ihani." The chameleon moves slowly, but it gets there. This proverb reminds us that change can be slow, but it always finds its way. In this moment of uncertainty, some believe Madagascar is undergoing a painful but necessary transformation, a shift from old power systems toward a more accountable era. Yet others fear that the chaos could destroy what remains of stability. Rajoelina insists that the Constitution must be respected. "If we fail to do that, poverty will only worsen," he said. But his critics, including former President Marc Ravalomanana, argue that the only way forward is a peaceful transition and new leadership. This political standoff between constitutional legality and moral legitimacy has paralyzed the country's institutions. For now, Madagascar has no clear roadmap. Those close to the president say he remains in contact with family members, though separated from many aides. One source described him as tired, cautious, and constantly moving. His wife, Miali Rajoelina, reportedly joined him in hiding after being warned by military security of credible threats. Their children, too, have been removed from public view. A senior security officer told a journalist off record, "We don't say where he is. Even some ministers do not know. Only 2 or 3 people know. The Malagasy people often tell the story of the zebu, the horned cattle that symbolizes strength and patience. Ni zebu manan keritsi miadi amin nitsinai. The strong zebu does not fight with its own stomach. It means a wise leader does not turn against his own people. This proverb now echoes across social media in Madagascar, used by protesters and commentators alike. A quiet message to both sides that violence will only deepen the suffering. From Paris to Addis Ababa, from New York to Pretoria, diplomatic voices are calling for calm. The African Union, European Union, and United Nations have all expressed concern over reports of unrest and urged respect for democratic institutions. President Macron said it plainly, the stability of Madagascar and the well-being of its people depend on constitutional order. But as history often shows, constitutional words mean little when bullets have already been fired. To understand Rajoelina's current crisis, we must look back to 2009, the year he rose to power. Then he was a 34-year-old former DJ and mayor of Antananarivo, who led a movement that ousted President Marc Ravalomanana. That coup was backed by sections of the army, including the same CAPSAT unit that has now turned against him. It is a painful irony. The very soldiers who made him powerful are now his biggest threat. As days turn into weeks, Madagascar waits. There are no public appearances, no press briefings from the presidency, and no signs that the crisis is easing. Supermarkets remain open, but the mood is tense. students whisper about the unknown future. And on the radio, callers ask one question again and again. Aiza ni filoha? Where is the president? Nirano mandriaka tsi misi fuana. A flowing river does not flow without a source. This Malagasy proverb teaches that every crisis has a root cause. For Madagascar, those roots may lie in years of poverty, weak institutions, and unfulfilled promises. Electricity cuts, water shortages, and unemployment did not appear overnight. They are the result of decades of mismanagement, corruption, and neglect. The protests are not just about Rajoelina. They are about the system itself. At Intervlog, we do not take sides. We do not celebrate turmoil, nor do we condemn voices of change. Our role is to observe, to understand, and to inform. Madagascar's story is still being written. Whether it ends in reform, resignation, or renewal, no one can yet say. But one thing is clear: when a president goes into hiding, when allies flee, and when soldiers defect, a nation stands at the edge of transformation. We end today's report with a final Malagasy proverb, Tantali amambahona, honey and thorns. It means that every sweetness carries its pain. Madagascar, a land of natural beauty and deep wisdom, is now tasting both, the sweetness of awakening and the thorns of political struggle. From his unknown refuge, President Andry Rajoelina says he is searching for solutions. But as he does, the people of Madagascar are searching too, for truth, for justice, and for leadership that serves them all. And that is where we leave this story for now, still unfolding, still uncertain, and still deeply human. This has been Intervlog, bringing you another story that matters, not with noise, but with clarity. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay thoughtful, and as we say at Intervlog, truth travels even when the speaker must hide. This is the end of our program today. See you on Intervlog same time tomorrow. Thanks for